If you're a man or an otherwise mask-presenting person, for whatever reason that is, you've probably been told that things like accessories are not for you. I'm here as part of our Dressing the Young Professional series to tell you why the people who have been telling you that are boring and wrong. So, let's get started. I've touched on this in previous videos, but the first non-fabric accessory that I want to talk about in this video is the humble tie bar. I believe that out of all of the accessories that a person can wear, the tie bar is one of the most practical because it actually does the job of stopping your tie from moving and flipping around so it doesn't blow around in the wind or fall in your spaghetti sauce. I started my collection with this gold one because I thought it was relatively neutral and I thought it would be versatile with all of the different things that I can wear. When you are pairing accessories, pay attention to your metals. So for example, I've got gold tie bar, and then I've got gold on my skull ring. We'll talk about rings in a second. And I've got a little bit of silver and gold colors on my ring and watch both. So everything sort of coordinates and works together in that way. I chose this first piece for versatility. I think when you're looking for tie bars, getting a gold or silver colored tie bar is a great place to start. I think a lot of people start out with black tie bars and then they go to wear it with a navy suit and find out that it doesn't work and they have to go get another one. So choosing a neutral colored one is a better place to start, I think. And then you can go out and get other colors and shapes later, as I will show you. So I figured that this was the best way for me to easily display the majority of my tie bar collection to you. I'm pretty sure I don't have to say this, but just in case, do not do this like this. This is for display purposes. Don't wear 7 tie bars at once. Wear 1. As far as placement goes, I talked about this in a different video, but the best place for it in my experience is where I had my original one that I showed you, which is right at the pec line here. It goes right in line with my pin and my pocket square, without which no jacketed outfit is complete. But this gives you an idea of the sort of access you have. You can make this as classic and basic and serious like these, or as wild and playful as you like. Something that you will notice with all of these here is that they also appear at different lengths, which will be appropriate for different tie widths. For example, with my thinner knit ties, I might not use the longer hammer one. I might use the slightly shorter kind of mid-range one that I started out with. But for a wider tie like this, having the hammer go all the way across is a nice, fun touch. So tie bars are very practical, but they are also something that you can have a lot of fun with. Now, when you go to department stores, most of the ones that you find there are going to be these simple ones, like this silver one here or the gold one here. But if you are willing to search online or even search in person at antique stores, you can find some that are more fun, that might jive better with your aesthetic, say. The next thing that I want to draw attention to will be my watch. Watches are a terrific conversational piece. They're an excellent way to show off your aesthetic. They do come under a lot of snobbery, say, from the watch collector community, but you can mostly just ignore that. You should do things that you like, that are comfortable for you, and forget about everyone else. But you can have a lot of fun with this sort of thing. I suggest that while you don't need to have a gigantic watch collection, having some kind of rotation is going to protect the life of your watch. It's going to keep your wrist sweat from getting all over it every day. And with a large enough rotation of watches, you will always have something to wear with all of your outfits. I chose this Bulova tank with the open heart today because I like the shape of it, because like I mentioned earlier, it's got silver and gold pieces, which makes it easy to pair with things like my ring and things like my tie bar. And it's also got the brown leather band, which makes it easier to pair with my suspenders and any of my brown shoes. But I also have a few others that I will show you. I'll preface this by saying that I am not a watch expert. I do plan to have an expert on watches and jewelry on the show later on when my channel gets a little bigger, but this is just to show you the sort of variety that I have in my watch collection. My two Seikos and the Bulova on my wrist are what they call automatic watches, so they are not battery powered, they are mechanical. They require a little bit more attention to take care of, but watch snobs like them. And I certainly enjoy the different details about their mechanical movements, like the open heart that's in the Seiko Presage here. There is a lot of argument about what is and isn't a dress watch. I'm not here to debate that until I get the jewelry expert on. But the watch that I typically wear with my nicer suits is probably the Seiko Presage. Or, if the color is appropriate, this really fun out-of-order quartz here. But the out-of-order with the mesh band or the Bulova with the leather band work perfectly well with suits or with sport coats and more casual outfits. The Seiko Diver, because it's got the rubber band on there, is typically reserved for my more casual sport coat or even more casual outfits that incorporate black in there somehow. And then my other out-of-order piece, I use this for all sorts of things, but typically, because it's black, I try to pair it with black shoes and things like this. We've talked about contrast and we've talked about color pairing in the past, so keep those elements of style, those artistic ideas in your head whenever you're pairing stuff. What I've got here is a small variety to make sure that I've got something for every type and every level of outfit, but also something that will work with a whole bunch of different colors. Now we can discuss necklaces. You can do necklaces with or without a pendant. You can do larger or smaller necklaces. It will depend on your aesthetic, and it will depend on the dress code of where you're employed as far as what you can do. But no matter what style of necklace you choose, you're going to want to concern yourself with the type of material, not because you have to get the most expensive thing to show off or whatever, but you want a high quality material because it will not damage your skin. I bought a whole bunch of different steel necklaces when I was a much younger person, when I was in like high school, and my neck would turn green all the time. When I got a little older and when I understood different metals and how they reacted to me a little bit better, I decided to pretty much exclusively wear sterling silver, which is what this chain is. I almost always wear this particular chain because it is special to me for certain personal reasons, and I will wear it either under the shirt, not visible, with the tie on, just for me, or I will wear it visible, open collar, like this, and I keep the shirt well unbuttoned because I'd like to have the necklace proudly displayed. Or you have seen in other videos, whenever I wear a turtleneck, I feel like there's just too much empty space there, so I put the sterling silver chain there. Make sure you have something that is comfortable for you, make sure you have something that works well for your skin, and make sure you wear it in a way that it's not going to get caught on anything. Of course, you will have different safety concerns with that. For metal bracelets, which I don't really wear that often anymore. I used to wear them a little more, but now I mostly just wear watches. Or for rings, I try to follow the same rule that I do with necklaces, in that I want to find a metal that does not react to and is comfortable on my skin, and something that is of decent quality that I enjoy. Now, they might have told you, once again, as a man or otherwise, for whatever reason, mask-presenting person, they might have told you that rings are only for things like relationship, or if you absolutely, if you must have a ring on your finger for some other reason, it should be demure, that it shouldn't be too loud. I'm here to tell you that those people are cowards. Rings are special to me because the ones I have all have a lot of meaning because of where and how I got them. This skull, which not super hard to find online, but I picked mine up on a market street in Hong Kong. So even though it's not particularly super special or unique, it still reminds me of that time that I spent there. And so this is the one I wear pretty much every day, on one part because of where I found it and what it reminds me of, but also because it has the silver and gold colored bits on it. It is really easy to coordinate with any other accessories that I choose. It works just as well with the silver necklace as it did with the gold tie bar that I had. This is probably my signature ring, but I also have a few others that I picked up during my time as a teacher in China. I'll go ahead and make the disclaimer just like I did with the tie bars. This is not normally how I wear this. This is just for display. I'm just gonna go ahead and do what my editor calls a lore drop here. The two skulls were found in different places in Hong Kong, and then the other silver rings here, the Fu Dog and the Dragon and Mahakala there, they all came from a town in the Chinese province of Yunnan called Dali, which is known for its silver work. I pair these with different outfits as I see fit, but they all have a good bit of versatility, and they are all definitely conversation starters. I wouldn't wear this many at once. There are people who might wear 2 or even 3 rings on both hands. Your aesthetic is up to you. The last point that I will make before we move on to the next accessory is, just like I mentioned with necklaces, there will be some safety concerns. Wear your ring on a finger that is going to allow you to manipulate your hand safety, don't have it on when you're operating heavy machinery, that sort of thing. I'll go ahead and tell you this one little story from when I was in high school. Instead of wearing the ring where you see it now, I used to always wear my class ring on my right hand, which is probably the hand I use more often. Well, one day I was climbing out of a window with the ring on my main hand, and I reached to climb out of the window, and the ring got caught, and it went all the way down to the bone. And I spent all of geometry class trying to work it off. It was very gross. It was very bad. Thankfully, miraculously, I didn't have to go to the hospital. And after that, ring went on the left hand and did not come off of there, and it was much safer. So do things that work for you, that look good to you, that feel good to you, that are safe. So the last 2 things I'm going to talk about are probably the 2 things that people have asked me about online and in real life the most, which are my glasses and my lapel pins. For the glasses, I wear them because I like them. I wear them because it's another added thing for me to have color coordination with. I've got a whole video about color blocking, and that's part of why I started doing this. But also, I've noticed that certain colors of lenses have helped me when driving at night. So in addition to just kind of looking cool, or I think they do, they also serve a practical purpose. And I've got a few different colors depending on what sort of outfit I'm wearing. So these tortoiseshell rims with the yellow lenses are probably the ones that I wear the most often, but I've also got orange, red, which I think all of them work with this tie, to be honest, because it's got the red and the yellow and the orange all in there, but I like the yellow ones the best. And too dark to wear indoors, but I've also got some green as well. That is something that you can have a lot of fun with, that I've deeply enjoyed. And then for the pins, for anyone who's been following the channel for more than 10 minutes, you know that I've got so many of these, and you have not even begun to see all of the pins that I have. But they're another great thing to coordinate with your pocket square and with your tie. And it's something that adds a lot of value, especially in outfits where I don't wear a tie. The pocket square still has the pin to coordinate with. Now, something that purists will ask me a lot is, why don't you wear your pin up at the top of the lapel? A lot of jackets have that little buttonhole there, which is specifically designed for the lapel pin or the boutonniere flower deal to go. I prefer down here. This is purely a personal reason, but I like that my tie bar, pin, and pocket square are all in one line, and I like what that does to the viewer's eye when they look at me. But pins are an inexpensive and great way to support local artists. They're a wonderful way to add value and pizzazz and self-expression to your outfit, and they are great pieces when you're trying to coordinate colors, whether you're using a tie or not. Now, before we wrap up here, I've talked about this already a couple of times in this video, and I've mentioned it in other videos. Because we're talking about men's wear, right? Because this is the subject that we are talking about. You know, this applies to men, or for whatever reason, masculine presenting individuals, or just anybody that wants to wear a suit at all. But whenever we talk about these sorts of subjects, it does go into like different ideas of masculinity on occasion, and I think that's why talking about how you can use accessories effectively as a method of self-expression and just for more fun is so important to do. Because sometime in the early 2000s, masculinity became associated with sort of trying to remove from yourself as many features as you could. To be masculine was to be this sort of featureless blob, and I think that really is damaging to men and masculine presenting individuals who want to express themselves. I think it takes a lot away from their identity and their individuality in a way that I think is harmful. I think if we can reclaim these pieces, then this can be one way of us getting better at finding out who we are, and then getting better at showing that to the world. I know it's something very simple, it's something very silly, like a ring or a watch or some glasses or whatever, but for some people, especially for people like me, because I love all this stuff, it's a very important part of how we choose to express our identity. And it's okay to wear it. It's okay to try it. Try it. If you don't like it, don't do it, obviously. But you might try it and find that you found a part of yourself that you didn't know was there. Food for thought. Thank you for tuning in.